Welcome to the Golf Report podcast. I'm joined by professional golfer Kathleen Sumner. Kathleen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
good. So we're September now, past Labor Day, so summer is, slowly going away. So how was your summer? And tell me just how your golf went. Did you get to play much golf, many tournaments this summer?
Yeah, I played a fair amount of
Mhm.
tournaments. I played on the next tour kind of in the off season, took maybe like a month off, and then just played in a lot of state opens from like mid-June through August and then hit up Q school. So
Mhm.
yeah, state opens for me in the summers for sure.
Yeah, so you played in the New Jersey State Open and you played in the Connecticut. Any
Mhm.
more they played in, or just any highlights from this summer for your golf?
Yeah. Let's see. I did Virginia.
Okay.
That was like not my best week. And then I did Michigan, which I did pretty well in. I think I got six for the pros. Maybe it was top six overall. I don't remember. It was like a top 10. Um, Tennessee Open, I did pretty well in. Then New Jersey did pretty well in. And then trying to think. Connecticut, yep, early summer. And then yeah, I went to Q school. So I had a pretty good summer kind of. I feel like it was just week by week I got a little better, a little more confident
Yeah.
and heading into Q school. So it was a
Mhm.
good summer.
Yeah, and tell me about, playing in state opens, how that is for you, like why you decided to play in state opens.
Yeah, so I've just been playing mostly in state opens for the past two summers.
Mhm.
Solely because well, the entry fees are like a third of what you typically get on the WAPT
Okay.
or even the next tour, but the next tour is just something good for like the off season. Um, and then also just for convenience, like for
Mhm.
me being now in Maryland, going all the way over to, I mean, the WAPT are great events. I've played in a few of them and they're very good, well-run events.
Yeah.
But it's just hard for me to get out there,
Yeah.
from like a cost standpoint, whereas state opens,
Mhm.
like I've drove to every single one, like
Okay.
pretty easy to get to, and it's decent competition. I will say that the courses play a little shorter, but competition is competition. Like
Mhm.
just a good chance for me to dial in my wedges a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, I was interested to know because I saw, you used to play in the WPT and then, you stopped.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense to play in state opens because going out to, Texas or Illinois or, Louisiana where the WT plays, that could be, difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like
Mhm.
I was
Okay.
open to playing in a couple this year. I just had never really lined up and I got lucky. I played in a lot of events. Like I had a pretty stacked schedule.
Mhm.
So like I was happy with it.
Yeah. So you play on the NXXT tour. I've interviewed, forget what her name is, but I interviewed someone from the NXXT tour. Her name's
Mhm.
not coming to mind, but anyway.
Was it Bobby
Uh,
Stricker? I saw you interviewed Bobby.
no, she was a WT player. Someone who works with the tour. She's a woman. I forget her name. Anyway,
Oh.
you play on that tour. Tell me about that tour and how you play on that tour because you play it because you live in Maryland, so and that tour plays in Florida. Do you base yourself in Florida in the winter, or how does that work for you?
So they were running tournaments from I believe early November
Mhm.
through April. And at that time I was actually in South Carolina. I just moved up here right after
Okay.
the last event in April. So that was only like a 6 hour drive. So what
Okay.
I would do is I would typically do two tournaments back to back. And I've got family that lives in the Jacksonville area, so I would just kind of like stay with them in between. So I would do like two tournaments and then go home for
Okay.
a couple weeks. So I wasn't there. I didn't play in all of them. I played in a lot of the next events, but yeah, I kind of worked out pretty well. And I think I'll play in a few more. I think I'll play in some this upcoming winter
Yeah.
and just kind of like go Maryland, South Carolina, and then Florida, kind of just split it up a little bit. So
So do you
it'll be,
think you're gonna spend? So you still have family in South Carolina, and you
yeah.
think you're gonna spend a lot of time in South Carolina this winter?
Um, we'll see. We'll
Okay.
see. I just built out like a little net in my garage. But just for like if it's too cold or rainy or something. But from what I've heard, they don't really close down the courses here unless it's like super nice private course. But like where I'm at, I think they play year round. It's just like if there's snow on the ground, obviously you can't play. But
So you grew up in Charleston, is that correct? South Carolina?
yep, yep, grew up in
Um,
Charleston.
so I'm interested to know you grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. Now you live in Maryland. How did you end up in Maryland, and why did you decide to live in Maryland?
Yeah, so I grew up in Charleston, and then after college, my family moved just south of Charlotte, this town called Rock Hill. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm originally from, is like the Charlotte area, and then we moved down. And
Okay.
then I met my girlfriend. She was in grad school at the University of South Carolina getting her PhD in chemistry. And we came
Mhm.
up here for a golf tournament, the Maryland Open, in
Okay.
October. She was caddying for me. And we were just like, this place is so cool. It's like a hidden gem over Frederick, Maryland. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Mhm.
And she applied for a job and got it. And we moved up here. She started her career as a chemist. And I just kind of hopped along for the ride. But I mean, this is a great place. Like, this is golf heaven. You got 10 courses within 20 minutes, all feasible to play. Great golf community, great community in general. So, yeah, that's why we moved, though.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I've had two players on from Maryland. I don't know if you know Delaney and Annika, but
Mhm.
those two
Yep.
players I've interviewed.
Yep.
I believe one of them won the Maryland Open last year.
Yeah, I think it was Annika.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but just tell me about, you grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. Tell me how that was, and just tell me how you got started playing golf.
Yeah. Charleston was a fun place to grow up playing golf.
Mhm.
I played all sports growing up and uh, the classic my dad played some and I went out with him a few times when I was younger, but I was always interested in like soccer and basketball. I just did it all. And by the time I was like 9 or 10, I started to really enjoy golf.
Mhm.
And I just kind of became like a golf nerd, really, and found myself not like all the other sports, it was hard to get me to go practice, and I'd go kicking and screaming. Whereas golf, I was like looking forward to going to practice.
Yeah.
And then when I got to high school, my coach at the time, he was just like my swing coach, he was just like, if you want to play D1, you might want to quit the other things and focus on golf. If not, that's cool, but like if that's what you want to do. So I went all in on the golf thing my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you just played in pre-qualifying, something I wanted to talk about. You made it through to the next stage, by one stroke. So, we'll get into that. But overall, just, you played in pre-qualifying few times before, and this year you finally made it. So overall, just how was your experience, a few weeks ago playing in pre-qualifying?
Yeah, I felt really good about it. I've told some of my friends like it was their first year, or like that first year you go is kind of just like an experience because it's a very different feel. Like you got 300 plus girls, you're playing three different courses. It's
Yeah.
just kind of a chaotic week.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it kind of just took me a few times. Last year, actually, I was really close. I also like was kind of in the cut line and then just kind of made a few mistakes coming down the stretch. And then in this year, I just kind of felt good about it. I was kind of chilling. Like I didn't really set any expectations.
Okay.
Um, that's kind of been the difference for me like this past year is I don't really set expectations. I kind of just go almost to like have fun and then it just kind of happens. So
Mhm.
I just kind of I felt very calm and relaxed about it all. And yeah, I feel like overall I played pretty well at it at the prequel. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun. It was a good experience for sure.
Two questions. So, what does it mean? You played it a few times and now you finally made it to the next stage. What does that mean to you? And I noticed that you shot three under, at Mission Hills Arnold Palmer course, and you shot three under at Indian Wells. But the Dinah Shore course, obviously, which hosted major championships, gave you a little bit of trouble. You shot 76 there and 75, but just talk about, for you was, the difficulty that you had at the Dinah Shore course. Just, what was it like to, play on a former major championship course for, pre-qualifying.
Yeah, well, so those two courses that I played well at,
Yeah.
I it's not that I was playing differently. I
Hmm.
think the Dinah Shore course just in general set up different for me. Like it
Okay.
was difficult setup wise. I think even though Indian Wells was like way more narrow, your miss was like a left and I hit a draw. And
Yeah.
Dinah Shore OB was always on the left side. And
Okay.
so I felt like a lot of my like misses off the tee kind of put me in trouble a little more. I didn't hit many out of bounds. I hit one out of bounds. But just
Okay.
like the setup of it, it played more for a fade player. And that week I just wasn't really hitting many fades. And then
Mm.
that second day where I shot the 76, there was kind of a wind. We were having
Okay.
trouble, my caddy and I were having trouble with the wind a little bit for a while. So
Hmm.
I mean it was just more so like I wasn't able to get the ball very close to the hole
Hmm.
like I was in those other rounds. And then that last round I was actually playing pretty well and I all of a sudden just got nervous if I'm honest. Like it just kind of hit me on like my 15th hole and then I just made that double and like it was what I like after that I was like all right, like that happened. You gotta kind of move on.
So I have a few questions about pre-qualifying. I'll go on my, first few questions about what you said. You said you're a draw player and Mission Hill's Dinah Short Course you said was for a fade player. So for
Oh,
you,
Mission
if you go,
Hills. Yeah, Mission Hills Dinosaur. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So you're a draw player and it's set up for a fade. Are you a player who you can adjust pretty well? If a course is, not setting up for your normal, shot shape, or, can it be difficult for you to, do you play better
Yeah,
on courses that set up well for, your game?
yeah. I mean, I can hit fades, and I do.
Yeah.
I think it was more so just how my swing was kind of um, like that's something I got to work on this off season is being able to hit more fades. Because that's kind of how I practice, right? I'll go on the range and I just hit fades, and then I kind of just let my uh muscle memory kind of work out on the course. But I think I was just having trouble committing to hitting the fades off the tee.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like I'm pretty adaptable. I just think that was like something that was different from Dinah. I mean, that's what my coach and I, who was caddying for me, we were just kind of discussing. It was just like, well, not very consistent with the fade off the tee this week. And like I just kind of had to figure it out from there. But typically I'm pretty adaptable. Like stuff like that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. Nice. So another thing is your first round at Indian Wells, you made birdies on 5, 6, 7, 8, and then third round you made birdies on 13, 14, 15. So, how was that making, four and three birdies in a row? And are you a player where, you get it going, you can make a lot of birdies in a row, or does this typically not happen for you?
It's happened to me a lot this summer. New
Okay.
Jersey, I finished birdie, birdie, birdie.
Okay.
Uh, Connecticut, I finished birdie, birdie, birdie.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think when I just get that first birdie, I just kind of settle in a little more. Like when those streaks kind of have happened.
Mhm.
I don't really know what it is. It's just kind of, I guess I get into like a little bit of a flow a little bit. Um, but yeah, usually when I make my birdie birdie birdies, it's after having a couple bogeys. So I don't know what it is. I think it's just a subconscious thing where I just kind of get a little more focused or dialed in and make some birdies. And then, I mean, so I'm not trying to force it. Every time I try to force birdies, I do not make a birdie. So
Good.
that's one thing I've learned is not to try to force birdies.
Good. And you made, you advanced to the next stage of LPGA, Q Series, by one stroke. So, are you like a leaderboard watcher? Did you know that you had to make a par on your last hole to advance to the next stage, or you're not someone who likes to know that stepping on the last tee that you have to make a par to advance to the next stage?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Okay.
I go back and forth on leaderboard watching. Um, for the most part, I like to look at it just because if I know I'm playing all right and I can look at it and I can be like, all right, like I could do this. Like it's more of like for a positive self-talk kind of reason.
Okay.
So I looked on like 18. We were more so curious if I had a birdie the last hole, like because it was a par five and
Hmm.
I it kind of doglegs to the left a little bit.
Okay.
So we were trying to figure out if I needed to hit my driver and kind of just, be a little more aggressive with it or just kind of poke my forward out there and, three-shot hole, make your par move on. So we looked and I was like, all right, par will get you in. And that's kind of what I did. Like I just kind of poked my forward out there, laid up, hit a pretty good wedge in. That was another thing at Dinah Shore. Like I just couldn't get, they were releasing so much compared to the other courses.
Okay.
So yeah, had like a 20-footer, two putt, moved on. Like I kind of looked at it as like it was disappointing, of course, being so close to the cut or being so close to getting through. Um, but I, kind of just told myself like you played enough good golf. It doesn't matter where maybe some of the not so great holes were that like overall I played enough good golf to like get through and that's kind of how I uh told myself, kind of what I told myself after that.
Yeah. So two more things about, LPGA qualifying. You made it to the next stage, which is in Florida in about a month. So, what's next for you in between now and, in October when you play in the next, part of qualifying? And then, what are you going to do from now until then to get ready for, the next stage, which is in a month?
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of keep doing what I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of golf since I moved here. I think that's been the big difference. I
Okay.
got a buddy here that he's got a good work schedule, so we just kind of play like a lot. We probably play 7, 8 rounds a week. Um, and maybe just kind of fine tune my swing a little bit, keep working on the putting. And then I've got the Maryland State Open early October, like first weekend. I think
Okay.
it's October 4th and 5th. And that's kind of just a nice little like tournament rep right before heading down there. So
Yeah,
that's
before
kind
a big tournament, do you like to, play in tournaments? Like you said, you're going to play in the Maryland Open. Do you like to play other tournaments before a big one just to see where your game's at?
yeah. Yeah, I found that's more helpful for me because the
Hmm.
more tournaments I get in, the more reps. Anytime there's like a bigger event, it kind of just feels like another week
Yeah.
instead of trying to like um put so much focus and emphasis and pressure on one week. I kind of just make it feel like just another week.
Hmm. Then final question, about LPGA Q Series. So if I say, what are some of the things that people don't know about Q Series? Like, you played in the California Heat, which is, I think it was like over 110. Travel, you were traveling all the way there from Maryland to California, and then you'll travel to Florida. Or the cost. Just tell me about some things outside of, the score or the courses that maybe the average person doesn't know about LPGA Q Series.
Um, it is very hot. I did
Yeah.
get dehydrated a few times. I
Okay.
think after the second practice round and then after my third tournament round, I just kind of woke up very just dehydrated.
Okay.
So that's something like it's so dry out there,
Mhm.
you're not sweating as much, so you're not really remembering to drink a lot of water. And then, costs, you kind of save up for it the whole
Yeah.
year because the entry fee is so much. The flight typically isn't too bad, and then you gotta, pay for a place to stay for a week plus. So yeah, I think just it's an expensive week for sure, and uh different conditions that you're used to probably, unless you live out there. And yeah, I think the big thing too is just kind of an overwhelming thing. That's why I was saying earlier, like I told, some of my friends that it was their first year, like just don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's more so like the experience because it's overwhelming. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. So that's just like those are just some things that make it really different than just like a normal, typical golf tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked that because I
It's
know,
7 straight days of golf, right? You're playing 3 practice rounds, three
yeah,
different courses, and then 4 tournament rounds right after that. So it's a lot. Like,
yeah, yeah. I see for the next stage, it's, two practice rounds and then four tournament rounds, it says. So, yeah.
yeah, not as bad and probably not as hot.
Hmm.
October, Florida, it's usually pretty nice
Yeah.
that time of year.
So let's get back. You grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. Tell me about some of your success, growing up in, if you remember any, growing up in South Carolina. I know one of your highlights, you won the 2015 South Carolina State, high school championship as a team and by six individually. So just tell me about some junior or high school tournaments that you remember, or if not, just tell me about winning this high school state championship by six.
Yeah, I saw you were gonna ask that. I didn't trying to recall really the state open or not state open, the state championship.
High school.
I think
Hmm.
that was yeah, I just kind of played like pretty well. I think that was kind of on the tail end. I got hot one summer and kind of just started winning all the like South Carolina events and like placing really well in the Carolinas junior events I was playing in. And up until that point, when I got to my sophomore year of high school, I wasn't really that good. I mean, I was athletic, I could hit the ball, but I never really like, broke through the ceiling in a sense. And then yeah, I went on to win the Twin States. That was my first tournament win. And that's where Florida State came and watched me. So they happened to watch me win a golf tournament. So that was cool. And
Hmm.
then yeah, just kind of went on from there to like to win a good number of tournaments that summer and fall. So that state open was really cool though, just simply because I was like with my team and we were kind of just it was just a fun week, big week. And yeah, I don't really remember
Hmm.
the actual playing, but I just remember it being like really exciting because our team won too, I think.
Yeah. So after growing up in Charleston, South Carolina, then you went to Florida State. What drew you to Florida State? Were you looking at any other schools, or did you like Florida State from the get-go or from the
Yeah, I,
beginning?
I really liked Florida State from the get-go. I was looking at a few other schools,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to get out of South Carolina and I wanted to go somewhere that wasn't cold, which is ironic because now I live somewhere that gets cold. But at the time, I felt like I needed to be somewhere where I wouldn't let the winter kind of hold me back or like, change any of my approaches because I wasn't used to doing the whole like really cold winter golf. Like I was used to the warm and I wanted to be able to get everything I could out of playing at college. So down south I went.
Yeah. So at Florida State, you had a lot of very good teammates like Amanda Doherty, who I got to interview, Frida Kinhole. You also played with like Beatrice Walleen, Amelia Williamson. All those, I believe, all those players are playing playing some form of professional golf. But just tell me about your team at Florida State. What was it like for you to get to play alongside some of those great players? And do you keep in contact with any of your teammates, or not too much from Florida
Yeah,
State?
we had a lot of fun.
Hmm.
It was it was cool to be around such great golf. Um,
Hmm.
it was motivating. Like I had to work my butt off to be able to hang with them.
Yeah.
Um,
Just to get even in the starting five is probably
yeah,
difficult.
and that was kind of a thing now looking back. I joke, I wouldn't have changed. I loved Florida State. I love the coaches. I love the teammates, but that part was a grind. It was like you have to work to get into the top five. And
Yeah.
I was always that fourth or fifth player. And so then you turn around and you go to a tournament. So it was just like, it was just a lot of pressure all the time. But at the end of the day, like I think it taught me how to like handle myself and handle those situations. And the biggest thing I learned, and it took me a long time to learn it, probably until after I was out of college, was to stop comparing myself to everyone else on the team because what they're doing works for them, but it's not going to work for me. And I kind of had to just stop watching so much of what the other players were doing and just focus on me. So that was a big thing, but then again, it was fun playing with a lot of good players because it was like I could do that. Like it was more attainable seeing like what they were doing and how they were doing it.
Yeah. So you turned pro in 2022. So you've been a pro now for, a few years. What have you learned, being a pro so far, and how's your time since 2022 being a pro so far? Has it been different, from college, or
Yeah.
was the transition, pretty good for you?
Yeah. So I quit after college because I was burnt out.
Okay.
Um, and then I kind of fell back in love with it. I was kind of quit for like a year. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go pro. I'm just gonna try it. And at first I kind of just did it just to do it. And but now I'm kind of just like, like I can do more, I can do better, I can do better. But I really have enjoyed being a professional because you kind of do your own thing, and that's kind of how I am. Like I just kind of do what I want, like how I want.
Mhm.
Um, so that's like the biggest difference between college golf and pro golf is you're kind of like by yourself, but honestly, it's pretty good for me. And I've made a lot of really good friends out there. Trying to think. That's probably the biggest difference though, is like you're paying for your own thing, your own stuff. You're spending a lot of time alone. You're having to navigate everything by yourself. You don't get a bunch of free stuff or like you don't get all your flights booked and paid for you all the time. Like you have to just kind of take initiative and like be proactive and like do your own thing. So it's definitely taught me a lot of responsibility because I've definitely missed tournament signups and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just like a lot more independence than college golf, but I've really enjoyed it. Like I really like doing it.
Yeah, it's not like college golf where, you were at Florida State and you had several future, professional golfers, on your team to help you out when you're not playing well.
Yeah.
Professional golf when you don't play well, then maybe you
I
don't make the
mean,
cut or you don't get any money. So that can be difficult where, you know, college golf, if you're not playing well, maybe you can have your teammates playing well and so it can
yeah,
be a
but you're
difference.
also not really letting other people down when you're playing
Yeah,
pro golf, right? Like it's just you.
yeah.
So if you have a bad day, it's like, eh. I
Let
mean,
yourself.
it sucks for me, but like
Yeah,
no one else is affected by it.
yeah. So finally, Kathleen, you're a professional golfer now. You've been for a few years. Now you made it to the next stage of LPGA qualifying. So what are some of your goals and plans with professional golf? I'm interested to know. Like obviously your goal is probably to play well at, LPGA qualifying next month. But do you have any plans? This summer you just mostly played state opens. Do you have any plans to like play on a tour next year or, just what are your goals upcoming? Obviously, probably playing well at qualifying in a month, but do you see yourself if you don't play well at, qualifying next month, do you see yourself continuing to just play, NXXT tour and then, state opens, or do you see yourself going back and, playing on a tour next year?
Yeah, obviously like I want to do well at stage two, but again, I'm not trying to put so much pressure on myself.
Yeah,
'Cause obviously it kind of makes a difference of what my year would look like. So, I mean, if I can get a lot of good status on Epson, I'll obviously do that.
yeah,
But if not, like just go back to the drawing board and kind of just do my thing. Like I've already gotten so much better over these past 2, 3 years. So yeah, I'm not really worried about it. I think I'm just gonna kind of keep doing what I'm doing. Like if I don't make it through, I'll just do what I did this year and just hopefully keep getting better and better.